Many people like us, who are learning English, like to use TED Talks, but we have trouble reading TED Talk scripts due to difficult words and sentences we don't understand. It can end up causing us to lose our motivation. So, I have simplified the English in the TED Talk. I broke it down into easier sentences to help you understand better. When you start with these easier sentences, you can get a basic idea of what the talk is about. And if you come across something you don't understand, it sparks your curiosity to learn more. And when you watch the TED Talk, after following these simpler sentences, it'll be much easier to understand the original one. Reading practice. For speaking. Read silently or aloud, as if you were telling it to someone else. Audio will be without repetition, with a brief pause between each chunk or sentence.
Previously on What Makes a Good Life? A survey found most young people desire wealth and fame. However, a 75-year study reveals that good relationships and health are the real keys to happiness. This study has followed 724 men for their whole lives, uncovering surprising truths. It shows that money and fame aren't as important as strong connections and a healthy mind and body. Despite facing challenges, the study has continued because of both luck and the dedication of researchers. What makes a good life? Lessons from the longest study on happiness. We've been watching two groups of men since the year 1938. The first group joined the study when they were in their second year at Harvard College. They all finished college during World War II. And then most of them went to serve in the war. The second group we followed was a bunch of boys from the poorest parts of Boston. We picked them for the study Because they came from. Some of the most difficult and disadvantaged families. In Boston in the 1930s. Most of them lived in small, crowded apartments. And many didn't have hot and cold running water at home. When these teenagers joined the study, we interviewed all of them. They got checkups from the doctor. We visited their homes and talked to their parents. Then, as they grew up, they became all sorts of things. Some worked in factories, some became lawyers. Others were builders, and some even became doctors. One even became the President of the United States. Some had problems with alcoholism. And a few of them developed a mental illness. Called schizophrenia. Some moved up in society from the bottom to the very top. While others went the other way. The people who started this study would never have thought that I would be here today, 75 years later. Telling you that the study is still going on. Every 2 years. Our caring and hardworking research team calls our men and asks if we can send them more questions about their lives. Many of the men in Boston's inner city ask, Why do you keep wanting to study me? My life isn't that interesting. The Harvard men never ask that question. To understand their lives better. We don't just give them surveys. We talk to them in their homes. Get their health records, take their blood. Scan their brains, and talk to their kids. We videotape them talking with their wives. About their deepest concerns. And when, about 10 years ago, we finally asked the wives. If they would join us in the study. Many of the women said. Finally, the time has come. I was beginning to think you'd never ask. So what have we learned? What do we learn from the many pages of information? We've collected about these lives. Well, it's not about being rich or famous. Or working more and more. The main message from this 75-year study is simple. Having good relationships makes us happier and healthier. That's it. We've learned 3 big lessons about relationships. First, being socially connected is good for us. And being lonely is harmful. People who have strong connections. With family, friends, and community. Are happier, healthier, and live longer than those who don't. Being lonely is like a poison. People who feel more isolated than they want to be. Are less happy. Their health gets worse earlier in life. Their brain function declines sooner. And they don't live as long as people who aren't lonely. Sadly, at any time. More than 1 in 5 Americans say they feel lonely. We also know that feeling alone can happen. Even when you're surrounded by many people. And it can happen in a marriage too. So, the second lesson is that it's not about how many friends you have. Or if you're in a relationship. What really matters is the quality of your close relationships. Living with conflict is bad for our health. For example, marriages with lots of conflict and not much love. Can be really harmful. Maybe even worse than getting a divorce. On the other hand, being surrounded by good warm relationships is protective.